Hello everyone, and no news lately unfortunately. It seems that Creative Assembly are just kinda hiding away, I'm not sure why, but until then they are providing little breadcrumbs. My cat says hello. So, I wanted to talk today about the map, because we know it's 2 legendary lords for Sesh. We don't know the other races just yet, but an educated guess could say high elves and something else. The fact is, that's another 4 legendary lords, and if you look at the map, this is the last version of the map since Omens of Destruction. It is getting pretty damn crowded. It's getting to the point that pretty much as soon as you start moving out of your home province, you're starting to see other legendary lords. The map is definitely too small, but nothing can really be done about that, but we can get a small map expansion, and I think that that's going to be needed in whatever they call this next DLC, as I feel like now they need to start looking at expanding the map for the sake of everyone here. Now, Omens of Destruction did have a small map update, which you can see on the right hand side right above Khuresh. It's not great, let's be honest there. It didn't really serve anything other than helping the Kai out. I think that's really the only thing that it's done. Hell, I don't think any of the Omens of Destruction factions actually go there too, which is wild, isn't it? But I'm looking towards the future, because we're looking at other characters coming in. 2 for Sesh, this is where things are going to get a little bit awkward, especially as, in most cases, they're either going to go in the Southern Chaos Wastes or in the Northern Chaos Wastes. Even then, there's limitations, because there's 2 Sesh factions on the top, right? It's just the Warriors of Chaos ones, but it kind of counts. This is why we didn't see Skulltaker or Arbal in the north. So what can be done to kind of make this better? I have a few theories, so let's talk about them. First up, there is a lot of dead space when it comes to the Northern Chaos Waste in the east. This is a lot of dead area. I could imagine they could put one of the 2 legendary lords up there for the sake of just opening up that area and giving, just a lot of the Chaos factions a little bit of breathing room. The big issue is that, unfortunately, that would require some involvement from Games Workshop. Actually, in most cases it does anyway, but naming territories and stuff for such a big amount of land, yep, I don't see that happening. And I feel like it would work out well, but there's too much going on there. An alternative would be extending the map downwards. So, while we already know one of the legendary lords for Sesh, the other one is pretty much certain to be the Mask. She's a herald character and it fits with the format that's been going on with Creative Assembly lately, and I could see her being down in the Southern Chaos Wastes. It's because there is a Sesh minor faction there, kind of what happened with Skulltaker in Lustria, and it kind of makes a lot of sense, they've got a Sesh faction in the middle there with Nakari North 1. Maybe the T'Challa could be an Ind, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But there's a massive issue with the Southern Chaos Wastes. It hasn't been represented well. If you look at any other Warhammer Fantasy map, the official ones and beyond, they always map out the Southern Chaos Wastes to be able to go all the way down to the Gates of Caliph. It's actually a much bigger territory than what's represented here. As it stands, there's only 2 legendary lords in this location, Kairos and Oxyotl, but the problem is that it becomes a massive mosh pit very early into the game. That's not going to be fun, especially for a Sesh faction, which, let's be honest, is going to likely be lacking versus Kairos. Kairos is very strong now, and then you've got to deal with Oxyotl, who's also very, very strong. Having some extra territory going downwards will actually allow for Kairos to expand a little bit, Oxyotl to expand, and then possibly the Mask. Originally this wasn't possible. In fact, it was stated by Creative Assembly a while back, because the map was built up from 0-0. We know map extensions are possible, but it's a really weird point there. However, ever since Creative Assembly Sophia, so CA Sophia, did the map changes for Total War Pharaoh Dynasties, they were able to figure out how to move the map away from 0-0. I imagine that wasn't an easy feat, but if it's possible there, it should be possible here, as, Warscape Engine and so on. It doesn't divert that much. It could be very useful. Another alternative would be opening up a little piece of Ind. This is because Dakala, the Denied One, actually attacks Ind at some point in the lore during the end times. We are in that timeline now, it seems, so it's very viable, and it will future-proof for future content. Opening up a little bit of Ind, more specifically a little bit of the Mountains of Heaven and some territories around that, would mean that the area is already there when the Monkey King eventually comes. Given the DLCs are taking around 8 months each time, I would have probably died of old age by that point, but hey, better late than never. It also provides a pretty interesting campaign, because with, say for example, Nakari remaining where he is, the Mask down there in the Southern Chaos Wastes going into the Southlands and maybe fighting into Lustria, Then Dakala pushing up into the territory of Cathay, the Mountains of Morn, and the Darklands. You've got a Sesh faction in pretty much every major theatre. The thing is, I'm kind of concerned about this happening, where mostly represented by black dots, I could imagine some legendary lords there. One in the northern Chaos Waste, one in the south. That's where I see the Sesh factions going. If there's no map extensions, then if it is High Elves, it's going to be Aisling. I can feel it. But that either means he's in the isolated island in the south, which has its own problems, mostly because since it's so far away, this is why the AI just basically stays quiet and doesn't actually move out, unless Kairos kind of finds him and declares war on him, or he's going to be up in Norska, because there's a lot of stuff to do with the Sea of Claws with the High Elves, especially with Aisling. If he goes to Norska, there's going to be massive issues there. It's already congested as it is. I have seen a lot of players complaining that the map is feeling too congested, and to be honest, I do agree with you, but there's nothing that really can be done there in terms of expanding the map in terms of scope and scale. But what they can do is start to negotiate with Games Workshop about opening up regions that are closed off, or expanding the Southern Chaos Waste a little bit so Chaos factions can go down there too. This isn't even counting the other possible races that could be in this DLC. If it's Dark Elves, they could be literally anywhere. That's the benefit of the Dark Elves. But if it's something like Norska, which has been rumored, what, another character in Norska? Or they'll probably put someone in Skeggy at this point, because, yeah, someone could easily be there. If they go for a very obscure character, they could easily put them in Cathay too, but again, Cathay is already feeling the push ever since Gelt was moved over there too. Ultimately, what would be best for everyone is the opening up of Ind and Khuresh properly, and this I mean without the actual races. I don't know if we'll actually get those races in the future, but I very much doubt it. It does look like Creative Assembly are kind of spending more and more time working on the next project. But regardless, if we don't get Ind or Khuresh, these areas would be a massive amount of land for people to play into. I'm not sure what's happening here. It looked like there was intention for this in early data file stuff, and then every now and then we have seen like trees being moved in there and so on, but it just feels like nothing is going to actually happen here. It could be CA not finding the time for it. It could be Games Workshop just not having the time for it either. There's a big thing here. There's rumors that maybe, Old World being more popular than they thought it was now changed up their plans. We know that they've increased scope for the Old World, but that could mean that they don't have the lore masters, essentially, that's what it's called, to be able to work on those areas because they're too busy fleshing out Cathay and other arcane journals now. Remember that when it comes to stuff like this, the naming of towns, the naming of locations, even how they look, Games Workshop are involved. It's definitely a plus and a negative. A negative for us at the moment, but a plus is why things have kept as lore-friendly as possible. Games Workshop are very protective of their IP. Maybe they can see value on it. Who knows, maybe in the future we'll just see a Total War Warhammer the Old World, which could happen. I don't imagine after the 40k game, if it does happen, that we'll go to Age of Sigmar, because, yeah, it doesn't look like it's doing too well. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below, start a bit of discussion. I do apologize that I've been kind of away lately. I've mostly just been focusing on finishing up the Brett project and sorting out some other stuff, some really exciting stuff that I'll be able to share soon, I think. It's just a matter of time. Nothing related to Total War, don't worry. I know some of you might be going, oh, DLC. Believe me, I have no freaking idea when that's coming. But yeah, have a great day, everyone. I'll see you all again very, very soon, and I'll be streaming live. We're trying to 100% Total War Warhammer 3 right now. So on twitch.tv/thegreatbookofgrudges, pop by, say hi, and I'll see you all again, if not soon.